On the evening of October 14, 2016, the quiet neighborhood on Southeast Maple Street in Portland, Oregon looked peaceful. The houses were small, the streets were clean, and the air was cool. Inside one of those houses, Emily Noble was getting ready to celebrate her 26th birthday. She had been excited all week. Friends were coming over. Music was ready. A chocolate cake sat on the kitchen table with pink candles on top. Emily Noble was known as kind and friendly. She worked a normal office job and lived a simple life. She had no enemies, no criminal past, and no known problems. To everyone who knew her, Emily was just a normal young woman looking forward to a happy night. No one imagined that this birthday would become the last night of her life. By 6 p.m., guests began arriving. Close friends, co-workers, and her boyfriend filled the house with laughter. Music played loudly. Drinks were poured. Photos were taken. Everything felt normal. Neighbors later told police that the party sounded happy and calm at first. Around 7:30 p.m., something changed. Witnesses would later say there was a short argument inside the house. Voices were raised, but no one could clearly remember what it was about. Some guests thought it was just stress or alcohol. Others said Emily looked uncomfortable afterward. Still, the party continued. At 8:15 p.m., one guest left early. No one questioned it at the time. People leave parties all the time. Emily stayed behind, smiling, acting like everything was fine. But inside, something was clearly wrong. At 8:47 p.m., Emily sent a text message to a close friend. It was short and simple. "I feel unsafe. Please call me." That message would later become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire case. Just minutes later, the music stopped. Guests began leaving quickly, one by one. By 9 p.m., the house was almost empty. Neighbors noticed how suddenly the party ended. The street went quiet again. At 9:40 p.m., a 911 call came in. The caller said a young woman was unconscious and not breathing. Police and paramedics rushed to the house on Southeast Maple Street. When officers arrived, the front door was unlocked. There were no signs of forced entry. Inside, the house looked mostly normal. Cups were still on the table. The cake was untouched. Emily Noble was found in her bedroom. She was lying still. She was cold to the touch. Paramedics tried to help, but it was too late. Emily was pronounced dead at the scene. Police immediately treated the house as a crime scene. The question was simple but terrifying. How did a birthday celebration turn into a murder scene? There were no broken windows, no damaged doors, no obvious weapon nearby. That meant one thing. Whoever killed Emily did not break into the house. They were already inside. They were someone she knew, someone she trusted enough to invite into her home. As detectives looked around the room, they noticed something else. Emily's phone was missing. Outside, red and blue lights filled the street. Neighbors watched from their windows, shocked and confused. Just hours earlier, they had heard music and laughter. Now, police tape surrounded the house. This was only the beginning, because what investigators were about to discover would reveal lies, secrets, and betrayal hidden behind smiles and birthday wishes. And the most disturbing question of all remained unanswered. If Emily knew she was in danger, why didn't she leave her own birthday party? The investigation into Emily Noble's death began before sunrise the next morning. Detectives stood inside the quiet house, now empty and silent. Balloons hung from chairs. Half-filled cups sat where guests had left them. The birthday cake remained untouched, its candles melted and bent. Everything looked frozen in time, like the party had stopped in the middle of a breath. Police began by building a clear timeline. According to witness statements, guests arrived between 6 o'clock and 6:30 p.m. Music played, people talked, and drinks were shared. Most guests agreed that Emily seemed happy early in the night. She laughed, took photos, and thanked everyone for coming. Nothing seemed unusual at first. The first problem appeared around 7:30 p.m. Several guests mentioned a tense moment in the living room. Voices were raised. No one could remember exact words, only that Emily looked upset afterward. One friend said Emily went quiet for a few minutes, staring at her phone. Another said she saw Emily whispering with someone near the kitchen. At 8:15 p.m., one guest left early. This person later told police they felt uncomfortable and decided to go home. At the time, no one stopped them. No one asked questions. By 8:45 p.m., things were clearly changing. The music volume dropped. Guests started checking their phones. Some said Emily looked nervous, like she was waiting for something. At 8:47 p.m., Emily sent the message saying she felt unsafe. When detectives discovered this text, they knew Emily was aware of danger before her death. Yet no one called police. No one stayed behind to help. Between 8:50 and 9 p.m., the party ended suddenly. Guests left quickly. Several claimed Emily told them she was tired. Others said she wanted to be alone. These statements did not fully match each other. By 9 p.m., Emily was alone inside the house with at least one other person. This is where the stories began to fall apart. When police interviewed Emily's boyfriend, he said he left around 8:30 p.m. after a small argument. He claimed Emily was alive and fine when he left. But phone records later showed his phone connected to a cell tower near the house after 9 p.m. Another guest said they left at exactly 8:50 p.m. and never returned. But nearby security cameras showed a figure walking back toward the house at 9:05 p.m. The face could not be seen clearly. Police also noticed something strange. No one could agree on who locked the door or turned off the music. These small details mattered. They showed confusion or lies. The medical examiner estimated Emily's time of death between 8:55 and 9:15 p.m. That meant someone who claimed to be gone may have still been there. As detectives compared timelines, one truth became clear. Everyone remembered the party differently, and someone was not telling the truth. Late that evening, officers made another discovery. Emily's phone signal appeared briefly near the house at 9:12 p.m., then moved several blocks away. Emily could not have done that herself. Someone had her phone. Someone who wanted to control the story. As police closed their notebooks that night, the case took a darker turn. The killer had not run. They had stayed calm. They had blended in. And one terrifying question haunted the investigation. If everyone left the party, who stayed behind with Emily? Detectives focused on one object more than anything else: Emily Noble's missing phone. In modern cases, phones tell stories people try to hide. Calls, texts, location data, and deleted messages often reveal the truth. Investigators believed Emily's phone would explain what happened after the party went quiet. Phone records showed Emily's last outgoing text was sent at 8:47 p.m. The message said she felt unsafe. After that, there were no calls made by Emily herself. But something disturbing appeared in the data. At 9:12 p.m., Emily's phone connected to a cell tower near Southeast Maple Street. Minutes later, the signal moved south, away from the house. Emily was already dead by then. This meant someone else was holding her phone. Police contacted the phone company and requested deeper records. They discovered the phone had been unlocked using Emily's passcode. Only a few people could have known it. Close friends, family, or her boyfriend. Investigators re-interviewed every guest from the party. This time, the questions were sharper. Where exactly were you between 8:45 and 9:15 p.m.? Did you touch Emily's phone? Did she seem afraid of anyone in particular? One guest admitted something important. Around 8:40 p.m., they saw Emily arguing quietly in the hallway. The person she argued with kept their back turned. Emily looked upset, almost scared. The guest assumed it was personal and stayed out of it. Another witness shared a different detail. They remembered Emily saying, "Please don't do this tonight." At the time, no one understood what she meant. Forensic experts examined Emily's bedroom. Under her fingernails, they found skin cells. It showed Emily had fought back. This was not an accident. This was not a medical issue. Emily had been attacked by someone she recognized. The autopsy confirmed the cause of death as blunt force trauma. There were no defensive wounds on her arms, which suggested Emily did not expect the attack. It happened fast. It happened close. Security footage from nearby homes was reviewed again. At 9:05 p.m., a figure wearing dark clothing approached Emily's house. At 9:18 p.m., the same figure walked away, moving quickly. The person's height and walk matched someone already interviewed. When police compared phone location data with the video, a pattern formed. One guest's phone moved almost the same way as Emily's missing phone. The timing was nearly identical. The guest had told police they went straight home. That statement was now clearly false. Detectives invited this person back for another interview. At first, they appeared calm. They answered basic questions. But when detectives mentioned the phone data, the room changed. The suspect's hands shook. Their voice slowed. They asked for a break. Moments later, they asked for a lawyer. Outside the interview room, investigators looked at each other. They were close. Very close. The phone, the timeline, and the evidence were starting to connect. Emily had known something was wrong. She tried to warn someone. She trusted the wrong person on her birthday. But police still needed one thing: proof that would turn suspicion into certainty. And as the search for Emily's phone continued, one chilling thought remained. What if the phone was never meant to be found? Investigators knew killers often keep souvenirs, mistakes they believe will never surface. Trash bins were searched, roads were traced, and pawn shops alerted. Every minute increased pressure. Somewhere, the phone held answers about fear, control, and motive. Somewhere, the truth waited silently. And someone, listening to the news, realized the walls were closing in fast. Sirens echoed nightly, reminding the guilty that time always exposes hidden violence. Eventually, always, the second interview began on October 17th, 3 days after Emily Noble's death. The police station felt colder than before. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly above the table. A camera blinked red, recording every movement. This time, investigators were prepared. The suspect sat quietly, hands folded, eyes fixed on the floor. They had answered questions confidently before, but now their calm looked forced. Detectives began with simple questions, reviewing the timeline again. Arrival times, departure times, small details. When detectives mentioned the security footage, the suspect shifted in their chair. When phone location data appeared on the screen, the suspect's breathing changed. The story they told before no longer matched the evidence. Investigators paused. Silence filled the room. Finally, one detective asked a direct question. Why did Emily's phone move after she was dead? The suspect swallowed hard. Their eyes filled with fear. They said nothing. Seconds felt like minutes. Then, quietly, they asked for a lawyer. The interview ended immediately. Outside, detectives reviewed what they had. The phone data, the video, the lies. They believed they knew who killed Emily, but belief was not enough. They needed physical proof. That proof came from the crime lab. DNA found under Emily's fingernails matched the suspect. It confirmed a struggle. Emily had fought back. She knew her attacker. Police obtained a search warrant. Officers searched the suspect's car. Under the driver's seat, they found Emily's phone, powered off, wrapped in a cloth. It still had fingerprints. Detectives now understood the motive. Emily planned to confront the suspect that night. She knew a secret involving betrayal and money. The argument escalated. Anger replaced control. One violent moment changed everything. The arrest happened before sunrise. The suspect was taken into custody without resistance. News spread quickly. A birthday party had become a murder case. Emily's family watched from their home, stunned. Her mother held the last birthday card she had sent. Her father asked one question: why didn't she leave? As the case moved toward trial, investigators prepared the final timeline. Every lie was exposed. Every movement explained. The truth was heavy, painful, and permanent. Yet one thing still troubled detectives. Emily sensed danger. She asked for help. The warning came too late. In the quiet hours of the night, officers stood outside the empty house again. Balloons were gone. Laughter was gone. Only questions remained. Justice was closer now, but the story was not finished. Court dates waited ahead. Witnesses would speak. Secrets would surface. And as Emily's birthday passed into memory, investigators prepared for the hardest part of all: convincing 12 strangers to see the truth. Because in the end, justice depends on proof, not feelings. And the question that followed everyone remained unanswered. Could this murder have been stopped if someone listened sooner? The answer would soon decide a life, a sentence, and a family's future. As prosecutors reviewed the file, they saw a clean case forming. Timelines aligned. Evidence connected. The defense would argue doubt, emotion, and accident. But facts remained firm. Detectives reminded themselves that patience mattered. One mistake could undo months of work. They double-checked reports, photos, and recordings. Nothing could be missed. For Emily, they owed perfection. Her voice was gone, but the evidence spoke clearly. Soon, the courtroom would hear it all. And when the jury listened, the truth would finally speak louder than lies. Until then, the case rested in silence, waiting for its final moment. A birthday, a crime, and a choice made in anger would soon face judgment. The clock moved forward, and there was no turning back now. Anywhere the trial began 1 year after Emily Noble's death, inside a quiet courtroom in Portland. The room was full. Emily's family sat in the front row, holding each other's hands. Reporters filled the back benches. The accused sat at the defense table, staring forward, expression blank. Prosecutors opened with the timeline. They spoke slowly and clearly. October 14th. A birthday party. Friends. Music. Then fear. They showed the jury the text Emily sent at 8:47 p.m. I feel unsafe. Please call me. The room went silent. Witnesses took the stand one by one. Friends described the argument. The sudden change in Emily's mood. The way the party ended too fast. Some cried as they spoke. Others looked down, ashamed they had left her alone. Then the forensic experts testified. They explained the cause of death. Blunt force trauma. They showed photos of injuries the jury could barely look at. They explained the DNA found under Emily's fingernails. It matched the accused. There was no mistake. Next came the phone evidence. A digital analyst showed maps and charts. Emily's phone moved after her death. The path matched the suspect's movements exactly. The phone was later found under the driver's seat of the suspect's car. Still wrapped. Still silent. The defense tried to fight back. They claimed the fight was mutual. They suggested Emily slipped. They said the phone movement could be explained. They tried to create doubt. But every explanation felt weak. Every lie was already exposed. Then came the most powerful moment of the trial. A close friend of the accused took the stand. At first, their story matched earlier statements. But under pressure, their voice cracked. They admitted the truth. The accused returned to the house after everyone left. They were angry. They wanted to talk. They wanted control. That moment changed everything. The courtroom felt heavy. Even the accused looked shocked. Closing arguments followed. Prosecutors reminded the jury that Emily trusted the wrong person. That her birthday became her final night because someone could not walk away. The defense asked for mercy. They asked the jury to consider emotion. The jury left to decide. For 2 days, Emily's family waited. Every hour felt endless. They walked the halls. They remembered birthdays past. They prayed quietly. On the third day, the jury returned. Everyone stood. The verdict was read. Guilty. Emily's mother cried openly. Her father closed his eyes. The accused showed no reaction. Sentencing came weeks later. The judge spoke firmly. This was not an accident. This was a choice. A life was taken. A family was broken. The sentence was long. Decades behind bars. As the courtroom emptied, Emily's family stepped outside into the cold air. Justice did not bring her back, but it gave her voice one last time. Emily Noble's birthday would never be celebrated the same way again. But her story became a warning. Sometimes the greatest danger is not a stranger. It is the person smiling beside you. And the question that remains for everyone listening is simple. If you sense fear, will you leave in time? Years passed after the verdict, but the story of Emily Noble never truly ended. In Portland, her case became one people remembered whenever they spoke about trust, silence, and missed warning signs. The house on Southeast Maple Street was sold. New families moved in, unaware of what once happened there. But for those who knew Emily, time never erased that night. Emily's parents created a small foundation in her name. It focused on personal safety and listening to instincts. They spoke at local events and schools. They told young people to trust fear, not ignore it. Emily's final text message became the center of every talk. It was short, but it mattered. Detectives who worked the case still remembered it clearly. They said it was the moment they understood how quickly normal life can turn dark. One argument. One decision. One person who chose anger instead of walking away. The case also changed how police handled similar investigations. Timelines were examined more carefully. Phone data became a priority. Small details were no longer ignored. Emily's case helped save others, even if it could not save her. Inside prison walls, the person responsible faded from public view. Appeals were filed and denied. The evidence never changed. The truth stayed firm. Justice, once decided, remained final. Every year on October 14th, Emily's family visited her grave. They brought flowers. They talked to her quietly. They told her about life moving forward, even when it felt unfair. Birthdays were no longer celebrations. They were moments of reflection. True crime stories often focus on the ending. Arrests, trials, sentences. But the real ending lies with the people left behind. It lives in empty chairs, silent phones, and unanswered calls. Emily Noble was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a friend, a coworker, and a young woman with plans. Her life mattered before the crime, not only because of it. Her story reminds us that danger does not always look dangerous. It can arrive smiling, familiar, invited inside. It teaches that fear is not weakness. It is a warning. Somewhere, someone watching this story may recognize the signs. A sudden silence. A feeling that something is wrong. A moment when leaving feels uncomfortable, but staying feels worse. Emily tried to warn someone. She trusted someone would listen. The final lesson of her story is simple, but powerful. Listen sooner. Act faster. Walk away when something feels wrong. Because sometimes, one step out the door can save a life. Emily Noble did not get that chance. But her story can give it to someone else.